I'm 56 years old. I've learned that the worst betrayals come wrapped in ordinary moments. This isn't a story about revenge. It's about the precise moment when you realize you've been living with a stranger. My wife of 12 years, Catherine, was a real estate agent. High-end properties, wealthy clients, commission checks that could buy a car. She drove a white Mercedes C-Class, wore designer suits, and carried herself like success was something she'd invented. I was a project manager for a construction company. Good money, steady work, but nothing that impressed her friends at the country club. We met when I was 38 and she was 32. She was showing a house I was renovating. Professional attraction became personal attraction, became marriage. For the first few years, it worked. She handled the social climbing. I handled everything else. The problems started when she joined the Riverside Country Club. Suddenly, our house wasn't big enough, my truck wasn't nice enough, and my clothes weren't expensive enough. She began measuring our life against other people's lives, and we always came up short in her calculations. "Michael, the Hendersons just bought a lake house," she'd say over dinner. "Tom's just a regional sales manager. Good for them. Don't you want more? I want what we have." She'd look at me like I'd said something in a foreign language. The distance grew slowly, then quickly. She started working weekends, attending networking events, taking clients to expensive dinners. When I suggested we spend time together, she'd remind me about some professional obligation or social commitment. I drove a 2019 Ford F-150. Black, crew cab, well-maintained. It was practical for my work, comfortable for daily driving, and completely paid off. Catherine called it the contractor special when her friends were around. Always with a smile, like she was sharing an inside joke. The real shift happened when she started working with Preston Development Group. High-end commercial properties, million-dollar deals, clients who owned multiple homes. She came home from these meetings different, energized, critical of everything we had. "Michael, we need to talk about our image," she said one evening in April. She was standing in our living room, still in her work clothes, holding a glass of wine that cost more than my lunch budget for a week. What about it? Perception matters in my business. The car you drive, the house you live in, the clothes you wear. People make judgments. I was reading the newspaper. What kind of judgments? About success, about whether you're worth their time. I'm not trying to impress your clients. She set down her wine glass with deliberate force. That's exactly the problem. We had variations of this conversation for months. She wanted me to lease a luxury truck, buy expensive clothes, join her at country club events. I wanted to keep living within our means and maybe save money for retirement. The arguments became routine. She'd criticize my appearance before social events. She'd make comments about my truck when we arrived places. She'd introduce me to her colleagues with a tone that suggested I was a project she was working on. In June, she went to a real estate conference in Las Vegas. She was gone for 4 days. When she returned, she was different again. Secretive about her phone, taking calls in private, working late more often. I'm not a paranoid person, but I'm not stupid either. The signs were clear. New clothes, different perfume, mysterious text messages, sudden interest in her appearance. She was having an affair. I didn't need proof. I could see it in how she looked at me, like I was an inconvenience she had to manage. The confrontation came in August. I asked her directly if she was seeing someone else. She didn't deny it immediately, which was answer enough. His name is Richard, she said finally. He owns Preston Development Group. We've been seeing each other for 2 months. Are you leaving? I'm considering my options. That phrase, considering my options. Like our marriage was a business decision she was evaluating. I moved into the spare bedroom that night. We lived like roommates for 3 weeks while she consulted with attorneys and made arrangements. She was methodical about it, I'll give her that. No emotional outbursts, no attempts at reconciliation. Just logistics and paperwork. The divorce papers came on a Thursday morning in September. But she didn't hand them to me privately. She had them served at my job site. I was supervising the installation of windows on a commercial building downtown. 23 floors, union crew, tight schedule. The process server showed up at 10:30 in the morning, right in front of my entire team. Michael Harrison. Yes, you've been served. He handed me the envelope and walked away. 26 construction workers watched me open divorce papers in the middle of a job site. The foreman looked embarrassed. The younger guys tried not to stare. Everyone knew what had just happened. I read through the documents standing there in my hard hat and work boots. Catherine wanted half of everything, including the house. She also wanted spousal support, despite making more money than I did. And there was a note from her attorney requesting that I vacate the house within 30 days. I folded the papers, put them in my pocket and went back to work. But something had shifted. The public humiliation wasn't accidental. It was calculated. She wanted my co-workers to see me served with divorce papers. She wanted me to feel small. That afternoon, I made a phone call. "Eddie, it's Mike. Is that Harley still for sale?" My brother-in-law had been trying to sell his motorcycle for 6 months. A 2020 Harley-Davidson Road King. Black and chrome, low miles, immaculate condition. He'd bought it during a midlife crisis, rode it twice, and parked it in his garage. "Yeah, why?" "I want to buy it." "You don't ride motorcycles." "I'm learning." I picked up the bike that evening. Eddie spent an hour teaching me the basics in his driveway. Clutch, throttle, brakes, balance. It wasn't complicated, just different. By the time I rode it home, I felt like I'd remembered something I'd forgotten. The next morning, I rode the Harley to work. The sound was magnificent. Deep, rumbling, unmistakably powerful. I parked it next to the job site trailer, took off my helmet and went to work. The crew noticed. How could they not? But nobody said anything about the divorce papers. They just nodded at the bike and went about their business. Respect earned back in chrome and steel. I rode the Harley every day for 2 weeks. To work, to the grocery store, to meet with my attorney. Catherine said nothing about it, but I could see her watching from the window when I came and went. The divorce was finalized 6 weeks later. I got half the house equity, kept my retirement account, and paid no spousal support thanks to her higher income. She got the house, the Mercedes, and the country club membership. I moved into a smaller place across town. 2 bedrooms, 1 garage, no pretense. The Harley fit perfectly. 3 months later, I was having lunch with my friend Tom, who works in commercial insurance. He mentioned that Preston Development Group was under investigation for fraudulent loan applications. Richard Preston's been inflating property values to secure bigger loans, he said. The State Attorney General is involved. Word is, some real estate agents might be implicated. I didn't say anything, but I wasn't surprised. 2 weeks later, the story broke in the local business journal. Preston Development Group had been systematically defrauding lenders for 3 years. Richard Preston was arrested on federal charges. Several real estate agents who had worked with the company were under investigation. Catherine called me that evening. "Michael, I need to ask you something." "What?" "Did you know about Richard? About what he was doing?" "No. I found out when everyone else did." There was a long pause. "I'm in trouble. My name is on some of the loan applications. My attorney says I could be charged as an accessory." "Are you guilty?" "I signed documents, but I didn't know they were fraudulent. Richard said they were standard paperwork." "Then you'll be fine." Another pause. "Michael, I was wondering if we could talk. Maybe work things out." I was sitting in my garage, looking at the Harley. Clean lines, honest engineering, no pretense. "Catherine, we're divorced. You made your choice. People make mistakes. They can reconsider. Some choices can't be undone. Please, just one conversation." I thought about it for exactly 2 seconds. "No." "Michael, no." I hung up the phone. Richard Preston was convicted 10 months later. He got 8 years in federal prison. Catherine wasn't charged, but her real estate license was suspended. She lost her job, couldn't find work in the industry, and eventually moved back to her hometown in Pennsylvania. I heard these details through mutual acquaintances. I didn't seek out the information, but I didn't avoid it either. It was just part of the story, the natural consequences of choices made. 6 months after the divorce, I took a vacation. Nothing elaborate, just a week riding through the Blue Ridge Mountains. The Harley handled the mountain roads beautifully. Smooth power, perfect balance, no complications. On the 3rd day, somewhere in North Carolina, I stopped at a roadside diner for lunch. The parking lot was full of motorcycles. Harley riders, mostly older guys, some with their wives on the back. They nodded when I parked, the universal acknowledgement of shared experience. Inside, the conversation was easy. Where you'd been, where you were going, what you were riding. No discussion of income or status or image. Just people who understood that sometimes you need to feel the road beneath you. That's when I realized something. I was happy. Not because Catherine was struggling, not because Richard was in prison, but because I was free. Free from the constant pressure to be someone else, free from the judgment and criticism, free from trying to earn approval from someone who never really valued me. I finished my lunch, paid the check, and walked back to the Harley. The afternoon sun was warm, the road was clear, and I had 200 miles of mountain curves ahead of me. That's when I understood the difference between winning and being authentic. Winning requires defeating someone else. Being authentic just requires being yourself. I'm 57 now. I still ride the Harley. It has 38,000 miles on it and runs like the day I bought it. I've been seeing someone for 4 months. A woman named Lisa, who works as a nurse and rides her own motorcycle, a Honda Shadow. She's never once commented on what I drive, except to say it sounds good. Last month I was at a gas station when I saw Catherine. She was driving a 10-year-old Toyota, looked tired, older than her years. She saw me too, standing next to the Harley in my leather jacket and boots. We made eye contact for exactly 3 seconds. She looked like she wanted to say something. I nodded politely and got back on the bike. I rode away without looking back. In my mirrors, I could see her standing by her car, watching me disappear down the highway. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no pity, no regret. Just the quiet understanding that some people spend their lives trying to impress others, and some people figure out what matters before it's too late. The truth is simple. Character isn't about what you own, or where you live, or who you know. Character is about who you are when everything else gets stripped away. I learned that lesson on a Harley-Davidson. It was the best education I ever got. The road ahead was empty and mine.